If you listen to the show for any amount of time, you know that I do have a merch store or two, and I don't generally push my merch because I don't feel comfortable hitting you guys up for money. But if you're listening to me on anything resembling a regular basis, you probably laugh at the same things I do. You probably think a lot of the same things I do. So why don't you go check out horribledesigns.com. They have assorted merchandise with funny comments on it, funny t-shirts, funny mouse pads, funny coffee cups, and then some stuff that maybe not necessarily so funny, but is definitely relevant, whether it's a social opinion, an economic opinion, a stance on, things like veganism, or whether or not you need essential oils in your life. So, yeah, anyway, that's my little plug. I have some of their shirts. They're comfortable. They're cool. I like them. HorribleDesigns.com. Go check it out. The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I talk about things that I feel need talking about, and sometimes they're not getting the attention they deserve. And your feelings, they're not under consideration. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. We are going to start out as we do now with the shout out to the supporters of the show. So thank you so much to Josh, Jake, B-Word, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, and Javier. Thank you guys for the support. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate the continued support of the show. All right, so that being said, we'll go into a follow-up to something we talked about in the last episode with that riot that happened in Chicago. The anticipated follow-up action that was being promoted on social media never really materialized. Part of it was the weather, I'm sure, and the Chicago PD did actually step up, and they implemented a curfew saying unaccompanied teenagers had to be off the streets by 6 p.m., which a lot of people are bitching about. But on the other hand, I think it seems perfectly reasonable. If you can't act civilized, you can't act like a decent human being, you don't deserve the right to be on the fucking streets. Take your little asses home. And the cops were very firm that if they caught some people breaking the law, they were going to jail. They didn't fucking care. So good for them. I can't really see the Chicago prosecutor's DA's office prosecuting these things. I can't see them, following through because they don't really believe in criminals. They think everybody just needs a timeout and a warm glass of milk, and then they can go out there and go back to being honor students. But yeah, so nothing really happened. Now, the big rub of what I want to talk about this episode is in the intervening week since the last time we talked, the president's office put forward another thing that, to anybody with any common sense, is a horrible fucking move. It's definitely pandering to the unsuccessful, the incapable, and it is pretty much a direct replay of what happened right before the last housing market collapse. The White House issued a new edict that basically effectively fucks over people with good credit in the name of providing better mortgage rates and better terms to people with shit credit, which functionally destroys the purpose of having a credit report. Now, I'm not a huge fan of credit reporting to begin with for various reasons, but it does make sense from a standpoint of lenders need to know if you're going to pay them back or fuck them over. It's part of, just doing business. And I'm not one of those people that's going to say, oh, well, the system's biased against certain people and blah, 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 blah. Every system is biased against certain people, and that the certain people are 99% of the fucking world. The ultra elite they're not subject to the system. They're above it because they control it. And I mean, it's getting to the point where I feel like everything that comes out of my mouth these days, 10 years ago would have been tinfoil hat, put this guy in a rubber room and let him have shoelaces kind of comments. But at this point, I mean, reality is what it is. The U.S. government has put a policy in place that will effectively punish you for having good credit. You will pay a higher mortgage rate, you will pay a higher interest rate, and it's even worse if you have the money to put down. If you saved up money to put down a down payment on a decent home and get yourself a nice place, you're going to get hit even more. So to offset the risks associated with lending money to people that have shit credit scores and don't have any money to put down to buy their homes because they don't have money coming in, they have poor money management skills, and they don't have the things that necessitate getting a loan that is not going to be defaulted on. So what is going to happen from this is, much like happened in like 2008, there are going to be a whole bunch of unqualified, non-money having motherfuckers that are all of a sudden going to be getting loans because they're going to be given preferential treatment, they're going to be given better rates, and they're going to be given like preferred financing rates because they have shit credit scores. And they're going to be given loans that they're not going to be able to keep up with, because if they were good with their money and they were able to handle the responsibility of having these loans, they wouldn't have shit credit scores. And I'm saying this as someone who spent a significant portion of their adult life with a shit credit score for various reasons. I had to declare bankruptcy without going into a whole bunch of detail, because before the current bankruptcy laws are what they are now, and before identity theft was really considered a normal thing, I got identity thefted, and there were no protections in place, so I was on the hook for a bunch of bills I didn't fucking charge. And being a logical human being, since I had already had a bunch of debt I was going to have to discharge anyway, I said fuck it and stop paying my bills too, because if I'm going to have to, completely reset my shit and hit the nuclear option, I might as well gain something from the process. It's not like you get a slightly less bankruptcy for only declaring on some shit. So I said fuck it, and I declared bankruptcy on like $35,000, of which like $2,500 or maybe $3,000 was actually debt I incurred personally. So, I was fucked. I was behind an 8 ball. Why not? It took me years to rebuild my credit because I had to do what I had to do to rebuild my credit. Initially, I couldn't get a loan. I couldn't get a cell phone because you used to have a credit check to get a cell phone. I couldn't get a cell phone. I had to get one put into my wife's name so I could get a cell phone. And fortunately, I did all this before we got married, so my fucking problems didn't impact her credit rating. So we managed to use her credit for quite a while, and through that process, helped rebuild my credit. And now I have decent credit. It's not great because, like a lot of people, I had to put a lot of shit in. I went into a lot of debt from being laid off for COVID. I'm still, I'm still like 5 figures in debt because of bills that got ran up during COVID, because I was only bringing home $340 a week thanks to unemployment. And we were not living on a $340 a week budget. And unfortunately, it was the same time where my wife had just gone in for surgery, so she was laid up. She was on medical leave. She couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. But the bill still had to get paid. The lights still had to be on. The car payment still had to be made. So we could, if I got back to work, I'd still have a vehicle to go to work in. Car insurance still had to be paid because I couldn't be liable with driving without insurance. Because if you have a car payment, you have to have insurance, unless you go to one of those fly-by-night places where it's no money down and you pay $300 a week and you ain't got no credit, but you ain't got no worries. Buy here, pay here, all those fucking hustles again. Things that are used to take advantage of poorly educated people who don't understand how money works, have shit credit, and don't realize that everything they're doing to try and get by is deliberately keeping their credit scores down, and they don't have the self-discipline to do things like take the fucking bus. Now, sometimes taking the bus is an option, and I understand that, but a lot of the people that fall subject to these kind of things are just fucking fiscally illiterate, and it's not their fault entirely. It's partially their fault, because if they had any kind of self-awareness, they would realize, particularly if they're from poorer neighborhoods where everybody's doing this shit, and they see that it doesn't work for anybody to get a fucking head. But they just say, well, that's just how it is, and that's what I got to do too. And I mean, I'm not trying to judge anybody too harshly because, like I said, the system doesn't exist in such a way as to inform and educate the common people about how fucked this situation actually is and how bad it's going to wind up screwing them down the line. And I understand that, and I'm not unsympathetic towards the situation. I am unsympathetic towards the people that refuse to do anything to extract themselves from that situation. People that don't want to live within their means, people that are all about the flash, people that are all about showing off what they got when they don't actually have shit. I don't care how much your shoes cost. I don't care how much your fucking watch costs. I don't care how much your jeans cost. That shit's irrelevant. That's petty, stupid little shit. I got a lot more respect for the people that have a plan and are making moves toward it. People that have enough self-discipline to say, I don't need the fanciest, shiniest shit now because down the line I'm going to be living comfortable. I'm going to have my own shit. I'm going to own my own shit. I'm going to do my own shit. And unfortunately, we don't live in a society where that kind of mentality is encouraged. It's the entrepreneurial mindset, the mindset that we are going to do good for ourselves because nobody else is going to do for us, isn't encouraged or pushed as a good way to do things. It's not the preferred method. There's no flex behind it. There's no flash behind it. There's no, razzle dazzle or whatever else. And there's nobody out there saying that's how you should be thinking. I mean, there are people out there saying that, but they're generally not the ones getting all the attention. They're definitely not getting any media hype. You don't see public service ads saying, hey, guess what? You need to save up and so you can take care of your mama when she gets old because Social Security is going to die. I mean, you hear the conspiracy theorists saying it. You hear politicians trying to wave it around like a banner, both sides talking about how the other side's going to fuck the common people over. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about a mindset that it's way too focused not only on the present. I mean, it's kind of a sticky situation in terms of I don't believe that you should necessarily deny yourself everything in your present, because if you don't have at least some kind of quality and some sort of joy in life in your day-to-day, it's real easy to let shit overwhelm you and to let the grind get to you. But, make your choices. Take joy in little things helps a lot. At least for me it does. But there's no long-term thinking in most people in this country anymore. And so you get these politician assholes that are like, it's to people that know what's going on here between the Fed and the federal government, it's like they're actively trying to dismantle our economy and this country. And you look at the more devious things they're trying to bring about. I mean, I don't have any problem believing they're trying to destabilize the American dollar so they can force through a centralized bank digital currency. Now, centralized banks, there's only a couple of families that control these banks, and you don't hear anything about them. They don't get any real attention other than from like the ultra conspiracy people, and they're all flagged as conspiracy theorists for bringing this shit up. But the simple fact of the matter is it's the truth. You've got people out there that are worth trillions of dollars that you've never fucking heard of. The fact that Elon Musk is referred to regularly as one of the richest people on the planet, but, he still has other people that have to manage his finances. I mean, not necessarily manage them directly, but I mean, it's not like he's traveling around with gold bars and shit. He's still only got access to the funds because some other organization is controlling those funds. And like I usually say, there are a lot of other people out there that are better educated on this matter and better informed, better sources for information to more clearly explain these things. I'm talking Cliff Notes versions of things here and bitching about why are we letting them do this to us, because the information's there and it's not even like they're not even trying to hide this shit anymore. They're flat out telling us, well, these people can't cope, so it's not fair that they can't get the loans even though they don't have the money and they don't have the credit history because they don't pay their fucking bills. So if you have a better credit history and you've worked to save the money up and you've paid your bills on time and you have a decent credit score, you have to pay more because you follow the rules and you do what you're supposed to do. So you can offset the risk of us giving loans to these assholes that are going to default on them anyway, and then we're going to take their property and resell it. So we're going to get whatever payments they do make, but we're not going to get the full amount. And then we're going to resell their property after they default on the loans. And this is going to create another housing market bubble, another property sales crash. The rich are going to benefit from this again. This is, as much as they like to market these things as being for the poor, the disenfranchised, and the fucked upon, it's really not. This is another thing that is another step in destroying the middle class in America. It is effectively transferring more wealth from people who have nothing to people who have more than they fucking need. And it's really a shame because the people who spent so long trying to warn us about this sort of stuff coming were the ones we didn't listen to, the ones that we were calling crazy, the ones we were saying, no, that would never happen. A lot of willful ignorance and a lot of burying our heads in the sand when they were right. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. 2023 has been like the longest and most unsatisfying I told you so in the history of fucking ever. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole new housing market crash that is pretty much fucking inevitable. So here's my advice to you. If you currently are thinking about buying a home, stop paying all your other bills. Stop paying your fucking credit cards off. Sign up for Equifax or one of those other services, or, and monitor your credit score. And don't apply for a loan until it drops down to about 5 something, because then you're going to get a better rate. If your credit is, I think it's over 580, you're going to get dinged with a worse in collection rate or worse interest rate. And if it's over 670, I think it was. I'm sorry, I don't have the number sitting right in front of me. I sat down to do this in a hurry. Yeah, but basically, if you're doing good, fucking stop it. There's no point. They want to actively punish you for being responsible and doing the right thing, the thing that everyone should be doing. So yeah, if you've got the money for a good solid down payment that's going to bring your house payment into something that's really reasonable, don't use that. Set it off to the side and use that to make all your payments, because if you put down that big healthy chunk, so you're only financing a reasonable amount of money, you're going to pay a lot more. Or before you do that, at least find out what the difference would be and do the math. That's one of those things I really can't stress enough that a lot of motherfuckers just won't do, is sit down and take the time to do the math to figure out which is going to be the more cost-effective thing in the long run for them. And then be grateful that you're actually in a position where you understand how finances work, and when this stupidity implodes and fucks everybody over, and all these assholes start losing their homes because even though they got the preferential rates, they still can't manage their money, and they're all going to get taken advantage of by the bank. When the bank starts taking everybody to the cleaners and the interest rates bottom out because the market crashes, then, do a refi. And for the love of fuck, make sure there's no balloon payment included in your policy. I don't think they're forcing that on anybody. I think you can still say you don't want that. But yeah, so be prepared. I mean, fuck it. They're going to announce that they're going to fuck us over. We might as well at least try and take advantage of the system, right? And that being said, we're going to take a little break here. And speaking of the system taking advantage of people, we're going to touch on something else when we come back.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Mike.
I'm Tabby.
And we're the Grace Taproom Podcast. Be sure to check out our link tree at linktr.ee/Grace Taproom Podcast 2.
There you can find our partnership with Hollowed Sense, buy us a coffee because we definitely need it, all of our socials, listening platforms, and our merch store.
And if you love our show enough, please feel free to subscribe to our Patreon. We have 3 amazing tiers starting from $3, $5, and $10 with a bunch of great content all over the place.
Thanks for listening, guys. Don't text and drive, don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly.
You heard her. Do it.
Taproom closed.
All right, so that's where the break was. So the other thing I want to talk about is there was some completely expected blowback from your and my favorite con artist, Dylan Mulvaney, who, regardless of everything else, you can say you're trans all you want. You haven't gotten the surgery. You're a skinny fucking dude that sells chicks products. You are really, I don't respect Dylan. I'm not going to. The dude's a fucking con artist, because prior to the whole going viral documenting girls of TikTok hood, he was just an ultra flamboyant dude who, their video came out basically of this clown admitting that he was doing a bit. He was trying to get an ad and he couldn't get an ad and he was having trouble getting an ad, and a friend of his wrote him a part of an ultra over the top female persona that he was going to do for this ad, and he got the ad and it worked for him and he fucking ran with it. And yeah, his whole persona is this over-the-top stereotype of everything a feminine person should be according to stereotypes, not according to actual females. And again, this is not any general hate towards the trans community. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Once you're an adult, I really don't give a fuck what you need to do to feel you're living your best life, to live the highest quality of life, to be the truest you need to be. If you're a grown-up and you want to change your bits and do whatever you got to do, that's fine. Leave the fucking kids alone. Kids don't have a sexual identity. They don't need a sexual identity. And I'll say the same thing to hetero motherfuckers that want to start talking to kids about fucking, no, leave kids the fuck alone. But anyway, back to this fucking con artist that has made millions of dollars in the last few months. Yeah, so the individual who gave Dylan the Bud Light marketing partnership, she was the first female, yada, yada, yada. I talked about this a little bit. The first female marketing executive for Bud Light, and she was, ultra woke, and she was really disappointed that she wasn't doing any social justice shit that her, leftist friends in New York would all identify with and be proud of. Yeah, so she wound up going on a leave of absence to the surprise of absolutely fucking no one, because she put her personal bullshit and her politics ahead of doing her job well and effectively, and completely alienated her product's target market and her base consumer area. Now, the idea for a successful marketing person is to grow a brand and to include more people, not to alienate 90% of the fucking existing customer base. Budweiser lost billions of dollars in an extremely short amount of time. And to the surprise of literally no one, she's on a leave of absence now. So that's just my little update on Dylan's little ripple effect of the con artist that is Dylan Mulvaney. And next one to watch, I think, will be Maybelline. I recently found out that Dylan was labeled as a spokesperson for Maybelline now, and it's like, that one at least kind of makes sense, because there's a whole lot of makeup covering up that 5 o'clock shadow. And so, maybe he's born with it, but that is a whole nother thing. I don't think that's going to have nearly the same impact, because, yes, lots of liberal people use Maybelline products, lots of assorted transsexual people and transvestite people and drag queens and average women and goth dudes and emo motherfuckers. Lots of people use makeup, so I don't really see this having nearly the same impact on it. I know some of the more conservative women out there will protest in simple... I don't care about that one. That's more of a... Like I said, I don't see that one being nearly as much of an issue. But it is just Dylan's latest acquisition in a paycheck. Like I said, that clown figured out the formula and is milking that bitch for everything it's worth. And I can't say I blame him. I just refuse to acknowledge that his transition is legitimate at this point. It's, like I said last episode, it's a fucking con. It really is. If it wasn't a con, if it was just about being happy and living his best life, he wouldn't need all this fucking attention, and he wouldn't need millions of dollars in endorsements for acting like a fucking stereotype. That's the part that irritates me. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their best life, but you're not even trying to be convincing or to act like that is legitimately how you feel. You are acting... It's like these fucking videos that pop up of, trans girl gets her first period after first session of HRT. No, you didn't. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You're not getting a period. You don't have a uterus to shed the uterine lining, which is by definition what menstruation is. I don't care if you're on hormones. You're not getting one. You're acting like an asshole for attention. That's all you're doing. And, validation, and for people to tell you you're special and you're brave and you're stunning and yay you and all this other shit. And it's just sad. If your own sense of self-worth and your own self-value is that fragile and that easily shaken, you really need to do better for yourself. You really need to try harder. You really need to stop sucking. That's what it boils down to. You suck. You have no self-confidence. You have no self-value, self-worth, and you are looking for happiness and validation from external sources. And as long as your happiness and validation is dependent upon external sources, it will never be enduring. It will never be real. It will never give you the actual satisfaction that you're seeking. So you will constantly be seeking more of it. And unfortunately, in our society today, the stupid shit that even 5 years ago would have been ridiculously outlandish is so commonplace now that they have to keep taking it farther and farther and farther. And it's getting more and more ridiculous where, again, you've got these teachers and fresh out of college teachers, particularly, that are like trying to be friends with students and seeking validation from children. And it's fucking pathetic. They can't apparently get it anywhere else, and they don't know how to cope. They have no functioning coping skills. So they seek it from little kids who will, kids by nature are accepting and loving of pretty much fucking everybody. I firmly believe that hatred and intolerance are learned behaviors, because if you look at like 2 or 3 little fucking kids, like toddlers, there's generally not a lot of, bigotry and judgment coming out of these little fucks, because everything's new and shiny to them, and everything is just, it is what it is. You're a kid, I'm a kid, let's be cool, let's go play together. That's really all they care about it when they're at that age. You don't need to be trying to tell them. You don't have to teach them acceptance. You don't have to teach them about who you're fucking and how that makes you different in other people's eyes. All you got to do is sit back and let them be fucking kids. I know it's a really hard concept for some people, but for fuck's sakes, that's really all it takes. Hands off the fucking kids. And in another thing that has happened, now that I've got my little venting about the people pushing Dylan's bullshit, and this ties into that, is on the anniversary of 420, Stoner New Year, however you want to look at it. The Aaron forgot it was 420 because I haven't been a person who partakes in that particular holiday for a long time, and I really meant to do something this year to kind of memorialize a friend of mine who passed, who used to be very into it, but I digress. That's neither here nor there. On 420, Elon Musk did something that just struck me as fucking hilarious. As the owner and troll in general of Twitter, that's the day he decided to yank all the celebrity blue checks and all the verified legacy tweets and or tick marks. Now, if you're not familiar with Twitter, good for you. It's a fucking cesspool, but it is what it is. There were things called verified accounts, which was a little blue check mark after your name that supposedly meant you were who you claimed you were. And a lot of celebrities had them, and a lot of people that, a lot of pseudo-celebrities, a lot of B-listers, a lot of fucking has-beens, a lot of washed-up hacks had them. In a lot of cases, part of the Twitter files showed that a lot of these assholes paid a lot of money to people that worked at Twitter to get their verified checks. And then Elon came along and said, hey, you got $8 and you can provide a phone number, we'll prove this is you, and you can be verified too. We're going to streamline the system. None of this other bullshit. And a lot of these motherfuckers lost their fucking minds. Now, for a lot of various reasons, it was, oh, well, now anybody can pretend to be me and they can make fake accounts saying, well, no, the Twitter rules are still very, very, cut and dry. You cannot impersonate another person unless you're saying it's specifically somewhere in your, bio or your title that it is a parody account. If somebody reports it and they look into it and it turns out you're full of shit, they will cancel it and shut it down. And some of these celebs are like, oh, well, people will pretend they're me and they'll be asking people for money and they'll be taking advantage of my fans. If your fans are dumb enough to think that you're DMing them from some random ass account on Twitter to ask them for $100, they fucking deserve to get taken advantage of, okay? I'm really sick of people not having to deal with the consequences of being fucking stupid anymore. But the other thing about it is you've got all these ridiculous fucking people who are, oh, but Elon took my check. Elon took my check. And then, Stephen King talking all this shit about Elon taking his check. And Elon's just, the guy's, like I said, the guy's a master troll at this point. Certain accounts, particularly the ones that were making a big deal about, oh, well, I'm not paying for this and da-da-da-da. And he gave a few of them back, like Stephen King, who's just been such a I really like Stephen King novels. I have for years, ever since I was a kid. And I used to agree with a lot of the stuff he said, but he's gotten just so fucking whiny in the last couple of years. And he was like, so they took his check and then he gave it back. And he's like, hey, I didn't pay for this. And it looks like I paid for it. And I said I wasn't going to pay for it. And da, da, da. Elon, maybe you should give the money to charity instead. And Stephen King having his old man on the front porch yelling at cloud moment is, at least it's a little more believable that there's some principles behind it. A lot of these motherfuckers are complaining and they can afford $8 a month. That's like one fucking Starbucks or maybe two. I don't know. I don't buy expensive fucking overpriced coffee, but it's maybe 2 cups of coffee out of their monthly budget to pay for this tick if it was that fucking important to them. What they're pissed off about is not being treated like they're special anymore. And one of the side effects of not being treated like they're special anymore and not having that verified status is it kind of slapped them out of their echo chamber where Now they have to deal with the same bullshit that the rest of us have to put up with, and they don't think they deserve that. You got, people, Bette Midler, Alyssa Milano, just like I said, washed up, not really relevant anymore people that are way too convinced of how important they are, that they have these fits and these meltdowns. And, oh, well, I did all this for Elon, and he has the nerve to take my check away. Motherfucker, it's his company. I didn't see you offering to bail him out when they were hemorrhaging fucking money. So shut the fuck up. You don't have a check mark. Oh my God, you're not special. You're not any better than anybody else because you rose to fame by pretending to be something you're not. Because, see, that's the common thread in a lot of these people that are having fucking meltdowns over losing their little gold stars, is a lot of these pseudo-celebrities and washed-up has-been celebrities got famous purely based on the fact that they provide entertainment. Not because they actually are better than anybody, which a lot of them don't fucking understand, and not that they're any smarter or any better human beings than the filthy, unwashed, unverified rabble, but because they're good at pretending there's something they're not. They provide entertainment for the rest of us. That little tick box saying, yeah, hey, guess what? You are important, was basically a fancy way of saying, yes, you're one of the good dancing monkeys for us. You entertain the people. You keep the masses entertained and amused and distracted. None of them see it that way. I see it that way. Now, since the tick program has been changed, and I understand people who pay for it now. Some people are doing it because they want to support what Elon's trying to do with the platform. Some people do it so they can make longer posts. Some people are doing it because they're going to be able to post longer video content to Twitter, and they want to get away from using YouTube or Facebook or any of the other platforms where censorship is a much more prevalent matter and where they're a lot more likely to be demonetized or to be silenced for saying something that doesn't fit the narrative of the people that are managing the platform. Those are the people that have blue check marks now. Now, to me at least, now the check mark is a little more entertaining. It means a little bit more. And then there's also, like the young, stupid people that are politically active that are saying, oh, well, now they're saying this and that, and it's a horrible injustice, and I'm not going to pay for this. How are people going to know this is really my valid account? Well, political figures, political offices, political businesses still have a check mark that they're not, paying for. It's political figures have the badge that says political figure. I know it's a really, it's a verified, government. What's it say? The account is verified because it's a government or multilateral organization account. So, yeah, they have a specific check mark that says you are a valid government account. You're an account that is acknowledged to be run by a government agency or official. So, you get these people, and one of the great trolls that came out about this was one of the few politicians I actually kind of like that are in office right now is Thomas Massey. Don't agree with him on everything, don't see with him on a lot of things, but he's at least kind of fucking gets it, and he realizes he's supposed to be there to do a job for the American people, not the other fucking way around. And he's kind of a smartass, and I like that because he made a post commenting about something, and some asshole on the internet's like, you paid for a blue check, your opinion's irrelevant. And then his answer to that was, well, technically you paid for my blue check. And fucking chef's kiss, beautiful. I actually respect the guy. And we do align in a lot of beliefs. He is much more for smaller government and a lot of less bullshit. So that's a plus in my book. And he wants to dial back all the horse shit that was put in place because of COVID. He wants to hold Fauci and Big Pharma responsible for the shit they put us all through for the last few years. And that's a nice change of pace. It really is. I mean, particularly because you got both sides saying that they're not in Big Pharma's pocket, but they all take donations from them. So, at least he's, being realistic about it. So, anyway, I see we're, past the half-hour mark here. I'm going to wrap this up. I guess my real message to you guys is, at this point, like I said, pay attention, be aware. You're listening to me. That's a step in the right direction. If you want to be guided and pointed towards better informational sources than I can actually personally provide, other than my little rants and raves, reach out to me. Email, Twitter. Twitter's like really the only social media I'm active on anything resembling a regular basis. You can message me there. You can email me. You can call and leave a voicemail message on the phone line. you can go to the website at ihadtosayitpodcast.com. You reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to give you information that will tell you things that you need to know from people who can say it much better and much more succinctly than myself. We're going to have to ride this out. The economy's going to fucking tank. I really believe that at this point. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of fucking when. And we got to do what we can to be ready for it. There's all kinds of ominous shit going on that are signs that are shit's on the horizon. Watch politicians and what they're doing with their stock portfolios in the next few days. Watch and see who dumps tons of stocks, because shit's about to collapse, and they fucking know it, because contrary to what every single politician says, they do insider trade. They do make movements based on information they have that the rest of us fucking don't. Unfortunately for them, we can watch them now. We can track them better. There are accounts to follow on Twitter. Go to Twitter, follow Unusual Whales. Follow the Nancy Pelosi Stock Tracker. That's an actual Twitter account that tracks every stock move she makes, so you can, replicate it and act accordingly. Because this bitch has made hundreds of millions of dollars insider trading, which is illegal, and she should be in prison for, but instead she's in fucking Congress. But anyway, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord, come and interact, be a part of the show, buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.